And welcome back once more to the Accessibility Showcase. Up next, we have Chicory, All Bats, Glitchless by Hallow. And here to talk about that a little bit before we get goated is none other than, I know this may be a surprise, but Hallow. Hello, Hallow. That is fun to say.
Hallow.
Also, I love this art that you that you have made here.
My audio just cut.
All right, hello. Or do we have you, Hallow? Just checking. We have some audio trouble. Hello.
My cable decided to stop working, which it does a lot. Am I audible right now?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Am I audible on stream? My audio interface decided to unplug itself.
I imagine we're good, and if not, okay, we're good. We're good. We're from tech.
It picked the absolute perfect moment to do that.
Hey, yes. Just chalk it up to marathon luck,
Oh, absolutely. Hello again. I'm Hallow. I'm going to be running Chicory today. All bosses and trials glitchless, so we're going to be playing through the game in the intended order. So no glitches, a few small skips here and there that are mostly left in intentionally by the devs. But yeah, this is Accessibility Day. I have Hanged Men here with me on commentary.
Hello.
And they did QA on this game, so they know a lot more about the accessibility than pretty much anyone.
Yeah, Hangman, if you want to go over before we start the run. Going in here, what kind of things does this game do that helps out for people who may either have a disability or some other limitation or some other consideration that they need to take care of?
So there are numerous accessibility features in this game. Hallow's going to run down the menu there a little bit, and some of them are separated out as accessibility features, and some of them are just graphics features, things that people might use. Eye strain helper, which changes the color of the background because a lot of it is white, and off-white is a little easier on the eyes, with such options as default and lots. Flashing effects, no thanks, and screen shake. All these things can be disabled based on any possible visibility concerns or issues with flashing lights.
I also want to mention that the options, the text is just incredible. Nope, a bit, yup.
Yeah, exactly. Completely rebindable keyboard and controller controls, and a lot of customizability there around not having to hold buttons, being able to toggle instead of hold. And
that's actually huge.
Yeah,
because you may not think it that for you pressing down a button is for most people that's an easy thing to do, not so much for everybody. And this is something I almost never see, but it's such a cool feature that helps people out who just have trouble with grip strength and all that. This is wonderful.
Modern games love to do hold as an alternative to button presses, but some folks, especially folks with chronic pain, cannot reliably do that. And it's very easy to just have an option to have that not be a thing, especially in a game like this. Wet sounds. Sounds.
What's wet sounds?
So I guess I can talk about this a little bit. It was M who did the sound design, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Yeah, so they recorded pretty much every single sound effect in the game just with, making noises with paint, which is super awesome. And also, in some cases, super disgusting. So you can turn it off if you don't like them. I played my first time casually with them on. I love them. I can pick the option love them. But I tend to run without them just because it's less distraction, actually.
Yeah. This game has a lot of cute fonts and varied fonts for different characters. So there's options to just have a single, much more generally readable font, and also not animating the fonts, changing the scroll speed. And then finally, especially because this is a single-player experience, they, from the jump, wanted to have as many accessibility features around people being able to play the game as they liked. So player health being a big one. There are boss fights in this game, as mentioned, and they're basically passive avoidance bosses. But some folks just don't want to have to restart bosses, which is absolutely accessible. And for me, testing bosses, I greatly appreciated that one. You can change, like Celeste, you can change the reaction speed and timing of a lot of the animations, and it actually changes the music as a result, because a lot of the music is timed to the boss fights. So if any of y'all want to play a really cool down-tempo, lo-fi version of this game, lower the reaction speed.
I did not know that, and I'm going to have to do that sometime now.
Recommended by Lena Rain. There are content warnings ahead of specific sections, both bosses and other non-boss content warnings, that just offer you the choice to skip a cutscene if you're so inclined. And also you can just skip boss fights entirely if you're just not interested in it. And at the bottom, there's that little teleport to luncheon. That is both an accessibility feature and a testing feature, and a great feature for when people get stuck. And
now I'm hungry.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to get so much worse.
Yeah, the map is every single place is named after some sort of meal, and every single character is named after their favorite food.
No. All of these features are important to us, like to the dev team, to the QA, because we want this game to be available to as many people as possible, and they're going to play it in the way they want. So it's better for us to enable that rather than get in their way. And the one final feature that some people may or may not have thought of is this game involves a lot of painting, and you can paint in different colors. The way that this game is colorblind friendly is because the colors don't actually matter. The colors, different colors don't do anything. And people have asked us, it would be great if there were features where, like, different colors did different things, but not having that means the colors don't matter, which means you can customize the colors as you want. The game is entirely colorblind friendly from the jump.
So, Hallow, did you draw this yourself?
I did.
The GDQ vlog? That looks so good.
Thank you. I actually drew it twice because I had done a version that I was slightly happier with before, and then I accidentally went into the controller options in the menu and for some reason couldn't get out. So I had to restart the game and draw them again.
You did great.
But I am quite proud of it.
It looks wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, this may be like the most extensive list of options going through, and I think it's just really cool. And this is exactly why I wanted to showcase stuff like this today, because again, we want speedrunning and just gaming in general to be as accessible, available to the most people as possible, rather than like your baseline quote unquote default. That's a bad word to say. Just little things like, toggling button press versus button toggle and all of this. It's just so wonderful to see this. And, Hallow, thank you for giving us our introduction here for this. And, I'm going to turn it over to you. And, you can, do any other discussion before you start the run, get right into it. Take it away.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, how there are a few accessibility features which we don't allow changing in speedrunning, namely the health and reaction speed. Although it could be, I don't know if anyone's done any, but it could be cool to have categories for those. The content warnings are actually used sometimes in some of the shorter runs where more skips are allowed. Namely any percent, although I'm not even sure if any percent has to deal with any of them because of how fast it is now. And boss fight skips are allowed in any percent runs as well, and I believe also 100%.
Yeah.
But since we're doing all bosses and trials, we are not allowing this. Teleport to luncheon is also something that's used in pretty much every category except this one, and the reason why I like this category is because we don't use this function. And there are a lot of cool movement sections which don't exist in any other category.
Yeah.
So if I remember, I'll point those out when we come to them.
Yeah, absolutely. The any percent glitchless, which I used to run, skips almost the entire game and all cutscenes and all boss fights and everything, essentially.
Well, it skips everything it can do without a glitch.
Yeah, exactly.
It's worth noting that any percent glitchless, the world record is 23 minutes right now or something.
And it's all movement.
Any percent. The current world record is 3 minutes 48 seconds.
Yep. Yeah.
And interestingly enough, it's on the current patch, and that was not initially thought to be faster, but then just so much was found. Anyway, I think that's about enough blathering.
It was good blathering.
It was good blathering. I enjoy blathering about this game. My entire commentary is just going to be blathering about this game.
And that's perfectly okay.
Yes. So the game starts by asking you what's your favorite food. I love this as a donation incentive when we do runs at marathons. But for now, a fun thing I found, which I don't know if anyone else found independently, is if you hit the backspace key, you can actually give yourself an empty name, which doesn't really speed anything up since all the text is instant, but it does feel good and feel like it makes things faster. Mm-hmm. I watch a lot of Pokemon speedruns.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm ready to start. If everyone else is ready, I'll count you down in a sec.
Yeah, go for it.
2, 1, go.
And good luck.
So immediately I'm going to be mashing the skip cutscene button a lot, which I have bound to a side mouse button. And I'm forgetting to mash it.
Yeah. Heavily rewindable controls. Also just great for speedrunners.
Yes. It is worth noting that pretty much everything that means you cannot walk anymore, like that means you can't move around, is a skippable cutscene. So every screen transition is a skippable cutscene. So you'll see a lot of flashing sort of when we go across screens. That's me skipping the cutscene, and it saves, like, I don't remember how much it is because it's been so long since I didn't do it, but it's like half a second per screen transition or something, right?
Yeah, it really adds up. And
more on the horizontal ones.
Yeah.
It's just like you're going through a coloring book. It's so neat.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's one of the wonderful things about this game. It is just a coloring book.
And whenever we have downtime during the run, you just get to doodle, which is fantastic.
Do you have any art plans, or just going to doodle around whatever comes to your mind?
Unfortunately not. I don't have that much downtime. I would love to. One thing I did is I ran this at speedruns for Transliberation last year, and I went to the... there's a place in the game where you can get custom colors. And I went and got the trans colors, and also got a brush that functions as sort of a use all of your colors at once one, so I was just painting the rest of the run with trans flags.
Aww.
That's a lot of fun. Yeah. Anyway, so we're already into the first boss. This game has bosses. You wouldn't think that from what it says on the tin, but if you play the demo, this is like, I mean, we're what, a minute and a half into the run usually when I get here, and I'm nearly losing time.
This game gets a little eldritch. It's very lighthearted, except when it isn't, and when it isn't, it's quite well written. So,
it's very well written, and it is also worth noting that it does a very good job of sort of interspersing these very dark sections within like humor and whatnot. Like, there is truly never a dull moment playing this game. I also don't want to talk too much because Lana Rain's music is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, she does good stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to want to talk over it.
Definitely has that characteristic instrument set.
Yes.
Fonts, yeah.
And throughout the game, there was a very cool write-up that she did about different instruments used in different parts of the game to evoke different kind of tones and feelings.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
my favorite is sort of like how Pizza and Chicory, who we'll meet in a bit, sort of have their own specific instruments and themes, and like sometimes they swap, and I just really love that. I make music myself. Oops, I sat on the bed. I make music myself, so I'm super into that aspect of the game.
That's super cool.
And I love talking about this game's soundtrack because, oh my word.
Yeah. So the brush is controlled by the mouse or by the right stick, and you have to move and paint sort of simultaneously as you play.
Yeah.
But
I do want to just take a second.
Oh, yes.
To mention that if you paint those crystals different colors, they produce different notes, which I was one of my favorite things. I would just sit in caves for like half an hour playing different notes.
Yeah. And
so this is Chicory. Bye, Chicory. So you were going to say something.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah, there are very few moments, except in boss fights, where you kind of have to move and paint at the same time. So you really can take your time and paint the world as much or as little as you like. And painting ties into so many of the mechanics. This game was heavily influenced by Splatoon, if you hadn't already guessed.
I am painting a lot more than I should be right now, and it's slowing me down.
Like, look how pretty you're
see.
making everything.
It is. And then these bugs want to eat it all. So here's Potluck. We don't really do much in Potluck. We sort of just walk through it a few times and warp through it a few times.
Have to be very careful not to talk to your dad.
Yes, you have to be very careful. It's not actually that hard to
no, it's not
hit it, but you don't want to because it
is a run.
I mean,
killer.
it wastes. In theory, it wastes a few frames because you hit the skip cutscene button right away, but you don't realize you've hit the cutscene because you're never used to hitting the cutscenes, and so you lose a bit more time that way.
So you'd see one of the recurring mechanics is sort of solving puzzles with paint in general, but also specifically painting shapes, finding symbols and things like that. And also all of those transitions can be skipped as well, so you can go real fast.
And of course, we already know all the answers to the puzzles, so we don't have to go find them.
This area has some of my favorite music in the game.
Oh, for sure. The way
these trees
we don't get
scary.
we don't get to hear it much, but the way this music evolves from floor to floor is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, something spooky is happening in the Picnic Province, or whatever it's called. These black trees.
What's the name of this track? What's the name of this track again? Is it probably Ancient Evil?
Yeah.
There's some note about the fact that this is an ancient evil, like that's causing the corruptions and whatnot, and so the music track is just probably Ancient Evil, which I love.
So this boss fight actually is an example of one of the subtler accessibility features. There's a content warning for this particular one for vomit and unpleasant imagery surrounding that, because this boss likes to spit stuff at you.
So now this one's a good time to talk about it because I don't have to focus quite as hard as in some of the later boss fights. Everything being synced to the music means that you sort of tend to like gain and lose time in these fights in like increments of like a measure or two, and depending on sort of where the music cues are.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the time you'll hear me like say, oh, I lost a measure there or something because I just heard the music going slightly longer than it normally does.
Yeah, if you could see the panic looked on Pizza, which is the default character name.
Yeah, so there I lost like a measure and a half or something over how fast you can do that, which amounts to about like 3-4 seconds to this song, I think.
Yeah, I think this boss is going to be my nightmares.
Oh yeah, for sure. It is. This is the creepiest boss in the game.
Yeah.
It hits you with the creepiest boss in the game in Chapter 2.
Also, banger of a track.
Absolute banger. Every single boss theme in this game is just incredible. And I think that's something that's really awesome, is just how like the game is so focused on the music that it allows the music to sort of take the spotlight for a bit. I like thinking about game music a lot. And a lot of the time, sort of the theory is you have to have it be there in the background and not too obtrusive, but still like enhancing the experience. Here, the experience is quite literally entirely built around it. And Jonah, I know you have a lot more to say about that.
Yeah. The boss fights, especially, everything being synced to the music was a very deliberate choice early on, as far as I know. to try to involve the player more closely because, well, pizza is involved whether they want to be or not because they picked up that brush. You'll notice we now have the ability to swim in paint. Again, shoutouts to Splatoon.
Yeah, were there any boss fights that were all of the boss fights like specifically designed around the music?
All of them are.
Yeah, and, okay. I wasn't sure if it was all or just some.
Yeah, and almost all of the environments in the game have variations on the music depending on characters and other things like that. Here's another little accessibility detail. Again, I mentioned before, hold and toggle. You can hold to swim and paint. You can change that to be a toggle, which I frequently did to save my thumbs while testing.
I use my shift key to swim, which makes it pretty easy with using WASD. So we're feeling shy and purple today, and that means we get that painting. And we did a very, very artistic painting of Chicory. It was so fast that you didn't even see us paint anything.
I'm sure it was incredible.
That's what people talk when they say speed painting. That's what they mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just say you're done immediately, and it's the fastest painting ever.
As Greg would say during punchy speedruns, it's art. Don't question it.
True. I really love just how like movement heavy. Also, my game's lagging a bit. That's unfortunate. So we're gonna be losing some time because my computer's not incredible. But just how like movement heavy some of these sections are, especially this one here, Gulf Swamp, which has wonderful music, by the way.
Yeah.
Although again, that's every area in the game. I went through the vine again.
And the speedrun makes all this look super, super fast. And it can be quite fast, but it can also, you really can take your time with all
There's a lot to explore is the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we are not going to see more than half the screens in this game. I don't think, right?
Probably even less than that, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the first instance of there being sort of puzzles inside trees. And as usual, we know all the answers. So this boss is back, except they don't have ears this time. I don't know why. If you can call the things ears. But surprise, turns out it is actually Chicory. Or
sort of.
a reflection of her. So I'm gonna have a bit of focus time just to make sure I'm matching somewhat efficiently.
No problem. One of the things, in a similar vein, some of the cutscenes before bosses are ones that have subtle content warnings that will pop up if that option is enabled because of the specific way that Chicory talks about herself and about you. Or rather, I mean, this isn't entirely Chicory, but it also is,
this is,
you know.
This is a part of Chicory's mind which she doesn't agree with.
But,
or when she does, she's not in a very good place, which happens a lot during this.
Yeah, it turns out being the one slated with painting the entire world good is a
bit exhausting.
It's a difficult task. If anybody who's interested in this game and hasn't played it yet does anything creative ever, please play this game.
Please play this game. This game helped me a whole lot in just making music. It's still very applicable, some of the things you hear from Chicory and pizza and whatnot. My first two phases of this fight were really good, but this one's being a bit slower and just not mashing quite as well. So I'm gonna lose a bit more time.
Hey, just think, we just get to listen to more music, right?
Oh, absolutely. We get to hear more of the song, which is super important.
Yeah, I'm okay with that trade-off.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oops. Can't do that yet.
No, one of the little details with the accessibility features to do with bosses and combat is that you can choose both between the amount of health, or like effectively an infinite amount of health, or you could just choose to not be knocked down or bothered by attacks even slightly, if you just want to experience the story of it. Because the story is largely the same whether you're getting hit by attacks or not, so play it whatever way
Yes,
you
for
want.
sure. Oops. Extra screen transition. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about this game is, like, it is very accessible. You can experience this story however you like. And the story will be the same no matter how you do it.
Yep, that's the theme of the day, and that's why we have this game on, and we have the
I
wonderful
fell in the
Hallow
hole.
running it as well.
I fell in another hole. I haven't done that in ages.
It happens.
It has happened before, so
It
no,
has
we're not
happened.
doing the
It has
thing. We're not
happened
doing the
before.
thing, okay?
Yep.
This game still does surprise me sometimes, but there are a lot of things that have happened that were definitely has not happened before moments.
Yeah. After that serious boss fight, we're gonna stop by the big city and pick up a transit pass.
Which we're gonna use a few times
Yeah, transit's important.
to go places faster. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, at the
Absolutely
fastest.
incredible saxophone playing by Carlos. I forget how to pronounce his last name. Insane in Lorraine music.
Oh yes, yeah. No, there was a huge cast of musicians who helped out or did remixes or added little details. There's so much going on with this music.
Yeah, and there are tons of like little paintings and whatnot sometimes in the game, which were made by various artists. So here we're in Grub Deep, which until somewhat recently was one of the longer sections in the game and was also very... It's not random, but these rock bugs here, or if you're a Pokemon fan, they're basically Crustle. They have a mind of their own sometimes, as you can see here, as that one decided to sit down, even though there was paint a couple inches away.
Yeah. If you were perfectly precise, they would do the same things every time, but it isn't easy.
It is very difficult to be perfectly precise in this game.
And also, it's a little bit against the ethos of the game. You don't need to be perfectly
Oh,
precise.
absolutely.
Maybe for a speed run, but
I don't think there are very many precise tricks at all in this run, honestly. Maybe the Grub Deep skip is one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my game is slowing down a lot right now.
it's all right. This section has a lot going on.
It does.
Yeah. We love the rock bugs, but they are...
We are unfortunately going to skip half this section if I make it. Yeah, there we go.
perfect.
That was found a few months ago by a member of the speedrunning community, and it saves a lot of time. And it saves even more time on runs when you don't get good luck with these guys.
Yeah.
Because there are like 3 or 4 screens sort of above these ones that we just don't go to. Right.
If I'm ever forgetting to say anything, it's just because I'm distracted by the music.
No worries.
I like the
This is one of everyone's favorite tracks, I think, in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remain quiet so I can listen to it as well.
700 some hours of testing, and I'm still just vibing.
I'm pretty sure this one was Lena just deciding to like write a full like string counterpoint piece with like no real regard to time signature, and it's incredible. It's a banger. Yep. So that was Grub Deep. What did I hit there? I think I hit the dress up hotkey, which I didn't even remember I had found. Yeah, so this is Peace. This is where the bugs live. We've been skipping cutscenes where we've been talking to a bug who can actually talk to us, because as of right now, we can't actually understand anything these are saying. Which leads to one of my favorite NPC interactions in the game. But you will have to play the game to find that one for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess it's worth talking about movement at some point. We gradually get sort of more movement options as the game goes on. Okay, one sec. I'm just gonna. Okay, that's why my computer's lagging. I forgot to turn off preview on OBS. I figured that might have been it. It is now off, so hopefully it should be slightly faster.
No worries. It's all good.
So swimming is usually the fastest way to go places. We can't do it down here in these corruptions because they sort of have the paint fade away after a while. But there's also flipping, which is almost as fast as swimming and is occasionally faster.
Yeah. If folks are interested in speedrunning this game, the movement tech gets real wild.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of it. And we know there's more that's just like we don't know how to do consistently yet. So this is the mirror fight. We're facing Anti-Pizza or As-If or whatever you want to call them. It's just a reflection of us. And when they are sort of the dark form, we have to hit them on their side of the screen, and when they're this light form and there isn't that sort of armor around them, then we hit them on our side of the screen. So as you can see, all of our paint is being mirrored. Super cool fight. Probably the hardest one in the game, I'd say.
Yeah. A large number of the fights don't actually require complex mousing and movement at the same time, deliberately. This one is probably the closest you get to having to do both at once.
Absolutely. No, yeah. I often get hit in this fight simply because I can't really look where I'm going, because I'm sort of having to focus on my side of the screen to actually figure out sort of where I'm painting and where I need to paint in order to hit my counterpart here.
Exactly. But it being mirrored at least means, like, to paint them, sometimes you just have to paint you.
Yes. But that's not all the time, and you have to keep track on when you need to paint you and when you need to paint.
Yeah.
So right now I can paint me, and now I'm done with the fight. That was a pretty good fight, actually. I've had some of my better, like, mirror fights recently. But yeah, it's really difficult, and spoilers, later we'll actually have to fight ourselves again, except it's mirrored diagonally, which is really difficult, but also a much shorter section.
Yeah. And that was like just super cool to look at.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. There's just a lot of cool little visual touches in this game as well. And like I said,
so we can swim with walls now, by the way.
Oh yeah, we can swim with walls.
And matching the jump key actually speeds it up slightly. That was possibly my fastest wall. Painting that wall right there is the hardest trick in the run, I like to say. It's not really hard, you just paint the wall, but when I started running this game, I had a lot of trouble with it sometimes.
Yeah.
So here's Chicory. We had a conversation with her last time we were up here and said some pretty nasty things that we didn't mean, and she's not in a very good place right now. This entire boss fight, I think, is skipped with a content warning. It's worth noting.
Yeah, this is a very...
It is the entire boss fight, right? Or is it just the cutscenes?
It is the entire boss fight, but not the following cutscenes. Because this one was very deliberately, and by design, an attempt to accurately depict an in-world kind of concept of what a panic attack would look like.
Yes.
For a character that
it
has
does it
control over
very
his
well.
pain. And yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's very heavy.
It's such a good. That's why the music is so good.
Yes, and the music is absolutely incredible. And this fight is basically just a cutscene. We never get to paint anything because we don't want to attack Chicory. So what that means is we get to listen to the entire music track every time.
Pan attacks are not fun. They're really tough. But
Absolutely, and very few games have ever pulled off depicting them even in a reasonable way that I can remember, and this somehow nailed it in a kind of a slightly soft metaphorical way that still hits pretty hard.
Yeah, I remember I was really, really, like, struck by this in my casual playthrough.
Yeah, and
it's worth noticing here, I always like noting that the claws sort of start attacking the middle where Chicory's sort of is.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. And, like, it's just portrayed so well. I could say the same things over and over again. Everyone say hi to Pickle.
Hi, Pickle.
Hi, Pickle. Pickle is a lot of people's favorite NPC, for very good reason.
Pickle has a very good font, and says very good things, and if you lend them the brush for a minute, they draw a picture of their face, and it's great. Yeah, one little thing I want to mention as well is thinking about the fast travel as an accessibility feature. Is that the traversal in this game is great, but it can be very fast, but also just having the ability to just get around for some people is so much more seamless and just easier to keep the entire world in their head if they know they could just get around.
You pretty much fast travel, once you gain access to fast travel, you pretty much fast travel everywhere that you need to go, except for like one bit, which is the chapter after this one. We'll go directly to the next location, which is part of the reason why I like this run so much. Because it was a lot of fun to route that out.
Mm-hmm. The movement in this game is a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure.
Skipping large chunks of it is sort of a occupational hazard with speedrunning, but
It was a difficult job, but someone's got to do it, right?
Absolutely, just like being the wielder.
Quick little cutscene skip here. It's not very difficult, but it's worth noting that it's there. My game is slowing down a lot because this section is hard. Also, I missed that. But this is the first instance of sort of save and quits to save a little bit of time. And we can skip. Interesting fact, like when I said earlier that like everything is a skippable cutscene in this game, everything is a skippable cutscene in this game. The going back to the main menu after quitting the title is a skippable cutscene. Continuing the game is a skippable cutscene.
Yeah.
And, if you can't move, you can probably skip it.
Yep. And one thing I just wanted to mention there is something people may not think of as an accessibility feature is this game went through a lot of work and effort to make sure you could save and quit anywhere. Which is an important feature for anybody who's busy or anybody who needs a break. Boss fight, by the way.
Yes, boss fight, by the way. This is Blackberry. She's probably my favorite boss in the game, honestly.
Perfectly ordered, geometric.
Yes. And she also has like a very high number of sort of like sub-phases in the programming, which means that her attacks are sometimes predictable because pretty much every time you hit her, her pattern changes. And you need sort of, I think it's like 36 hits for the first couple phases. And the slowest attacks obviously are the ones where you can't hit her, namely this one. So if you see this more than about 2 times a phase, you're usually not very happy about it. But yeah, this boss fight is super awesome. I love playing for it. The music is incredible.
Part of the
Yeah, I'm actually writing this down for later to just go look up this soundtrack so I can listen to it all.
Oh, absolutely.
Without
Absolutely. Listen through
through it,
the whole thing, 2.5 hours. It's entirely worth your time.
Also, I believe Lena did a sort of long mix of a bunch of songs woven together in medleys. If you just want some like mellow stuff to put on in the background.
I forgot what phase I was on. I was zoning out. Was my second phase there really long or something?
I don't think so. It's hard to tell.
I'm just too into it right now. I did not mean to get hit there. But either way, that's the fight. Unfortunately, we have to leave the music behind. That's one of the sad things about running this game is every single music track is incredible, but some of them you only get to hear for like a few seconds at a time.
Yeah, Celeste speedrunners have it great.
Select speedrunners do have it great, although it's worth noting that a lot of the tracks in that game are like 9 minutes long with all of their variations, and they definitely don't get to hear all of them.
That's true. That's true.
Speaking of Celeste, though, you're about midway through the event today, and Celeste, another game composed by Lena Raine, will be on later in the evening.
Mm-hmm. Celeste being composed by Lena Raine was the entire reason I had my eye on this game in the first place.
Really? That's great.
Because I just knew it was going to be incredible. She has done a ton of interviews, I think, about both Celeste and this game. Oops. Go read her interviews. It's super awesome to sort of get insight into how she thought about composing for this game, especially if you're into music. If you're into music, go read her interviews.
And being a very character-driven game, and having kind of everyone has a favorite character. There's so much to them if you take time to chat with them.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
One thing I love about this game is that it rewards players who take their time with more little details about the world, and the world is very well filled out. You don't need to take your time. You can play it, as I said, play it however you like. But if you take your time,
I was so enthralled with this game on my first playthrough that I think I basically did all of the 100% besides like the few. There are like 3 or 4 items that you can't get until you beat the final boss.
Yeah.
And I did all of it before beating the game because I was just like, I want to get everything. I want to talk to everyone.
It doesn't figure into the speedrun, but there's an entire decoration system where you can decorate just about every screen.
It does actually figure in about 30 seconds.
Yes.
Very, very briefly.
How convenient. What timing?
So, one thing I'll say is early on, in early versions, before a couple things get fixed, one of the early speedrun techs was to put a chair up on a cliff and then get into the chair. That was fixed, unfortunately, because it could cause casual players could end up out of bounds, but I love telling that story because it was so funny to just get into the chair on top of the cliff.
Decorations, you can place a decoration I just got on that wall, I think, somehow. You can place decorations pretty much wherever you want. And that definitely, in the early days at least, led to some very broken things happening. But yeah, I'm just gonna open this up and we have to place these 4 flowers that we just went around and gathered. And then we planted them. I do also want to stress that the story of this game is absolutely wonderful. We're skipping through most of it, but like, We just told Chicory we're going to go meet up at the Luncheon Cafe. That cutscene is wonderful. Every cutscene is wonderful. This game is very worth the play.
And even if you're watching this and you think you've seen a good chunk of it, there's so much more to it.
Oh, you haven't seen any of the dialogue. You don't get to see just how genuinely funny this game is at pretty much every single turn.
Yep, adding it to my wish list. All right, there we go.
Good. Join us.
Another accessibility feature that I'll mention here, if I've got a second, is that this game, much like one big inspiration for it, Link's Awakening, has phone booths scattered around the world, which are an omnipresent hint system.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention those. And this is a good time because there's one in a few screens from now that I will probably get caught on because I always do.
Yeah. And the hint system involves you calling your mom and her giving you a vague hint if you want. And then you see your dad's hand reaching for the phone in the background. And then you can choose to let your dad answer the phone instead, where he will just tell you exactly what to do.
That's hilarious.
That's
too excited to do it.
I always get caught on.
Yeah, that's the phone booth. But having the nice little in-world hint system players can use at their leisure is also just a lovely little touch that this game has.
Quick save and quit here, just to reset that cycle. There'll be a few of these on this. This is, if you're a Celeste fan, this is the section of the run you'll like.
Yeah.
It is very familiar.
Got the jumping, the mountain climbing.
Oops, I opened the settings instead.
Very familiar instruments.
Yes, very. I forgot how long that cycle was. I still could have quit and saved time. Oh, where's my mouse? There we go.
And if you happen to play this on PS5, besides it having the motion-controlled painting or touchscreen painting and a bunch of other things, it also has all the built-in hint features, the activity system that the PS5 has.
Oh no. I am being a bit too hasty with these bubbles.
No problem. This part is always real fiddly part of the speed run. These little bubbles have a mind of their own, but that's kind of what happens when you're. It's not quite 3D. It's close, but it's not quite 3D.
It is not quite 3D, and that is the basis of a lot of the glitches.
Yeah.
There's one a bit farther along in this section which I consistently do accidentally, which just gets you into the skybox, and it's not allowed in glitchless runs, but it still happens anyway, so I make sure to never utilize it, even when I get it by accident.
And yeah, we fixed just about every hole and filled every little gap in that we could, but speedrunners will always find more, which is fine. As I've mentioned before when we've talked about this previously or done runs like this previously, with the QA team, our main concern is just that everybody has a good time.
It's an admirable goal. And I feel like if you wanted to truly find everything, no game ever would ever be released.
No. And we fixed everything that my general rule is that we fix things that a casual player could run into, especially if it might disrupt their playthrough significantly. And we'll never fix everything, and speedrunners will always find incredible stuff. But also, there have been staff members on both this game and other games that I've worked on that are speedrunners, including me, who want to try to find a balance. So casual players won't be affected, but speedrunners can have the fun that they want to have.
Yep, okay, it happened.
Still mystified by that one.
Yeah, skipping cutscenes, skipping the screen transitions is a bit weird sometimes.
Yeah, you are quite literally skipping kind of loading to a certain degree, and
sometimes it means you end up on the wrong layer.
And sometimes it means that there's no furniture in the rooms.
Yes, that one's particularly funny on a couple scenes that I've done. I think I've done it twice now. There's a scene later where we'll be painting a portrait. And if you skip cutscene at the right time, the easel isn't there.
Yeah.
Which I kind of lost my mind at the first time I saw it. It was very funny.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh yeah, let's finish the trial. You have to do a painting.
Speedrunning is crowdsourced QA in a way. Deeply invested
absolutely.
players desperately trying to break the game, and but we always say there's no better QA team than 100,000 people crashing into the game on day one. So we'll fix what we can.
Absolutely.
And try to leave the fun stuff for speedrunners if we can.
All right, Peppermint. Some NPCs will just randomly show up on screens that you've done some painting on.
Admiring the art. Like, oh, look at this.
Yes, admiring the art. Usually we're going so fast and don't paint enough to actually see them, but I guess I saw Peppermint there.
Yeah, this part of the game is actually fairly open-ended. There are 4 trials that you have to do, and you can do them in any order. And sort of, the game really opens up to go at your own pace.
Yes, it is sort of the first trial we did, which was the one in the top right of the map, is actually made harder to get to, specifically because it maybe doesn't work quite as well if you do it first. But one of the cutscenes in it is actually changed if you do it. That was funny. If you do that trial first, one of the cutscenes will actually be different. Because you sort of haven't really progressed enough and gotten to know Chicory well enough for it to go the way it does if you don't do it first.
As I said, the team, or at the very least Greg, is yet another fan of speedrunning in general, and I know we had a lot of little things in mind as we were testing and as the game was finalized to try to make sure sequencing made sense and little details would be there for folks who are going fast or taking their time.
Yeah, it's just so cool that game developers like just being in the speedrunning community as well. I just find that super
I forgot to hit those.
Yeah, no, it's very cool, and it's both great in terms of having a receptive group of folks who are helping us find bugs, and also just keeping broader interests of different play styles in mind. A lot of accessibility features are also speedrunning features, especially in this game.
I do also just want to mention in this section, just before we miss it, there are a bunch of like little skips I'm doing here. Most of them were known about during testing, right, and left in intentionally just as like a thing that speedrunners can use to go faster.
Yeah, jumping through the pillars, jumping at certain angles to prevent yourself from falling and having to swim back up. Very few of those got fixed, especially like ones that had been in for a while after release. Because if nobody was running into them, getting stuck, causing issues, let it rock.
I do love when we get a chance to talk to people who did work on the game. Like, hey man, you did QA for this, and here you are on GDQ talking about it. I just think that's awesome. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I
mean, you were like the first any % glitchless runner, weren't you?
Yeah, I was the first any % glitchless runner because I loved the movement in this game so much. And I'd been speedrunning before, but I just dug in. Greg and I were kind of a little bit doing casual speedruns during development. And I was testing. I was going fast. I needed to go fast anyway. So I had some fun with it.
Worth noting, we're actually on the final chapter now. I've just been talking about this game, so it's sort of breezed by while we've been gushing over this game. I went in the tower. Don't go in the tower, you lose time. So this is the final corruption. It is on top of the Wielder Tower.
It's gotten quite serious.
So I need to stop skipping cutscene screen transitions here, because if you do, it'll actually like not count your progress.
Yeah, it does a cool little Lost Woods thing here. But for speedrun purposes, you actually have to completely change the way you play, or else it'll just loop forever unintentionally.
It's very easy to forget.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff.
What is going on?
Things have gotten bad.
Things have gotten bad. And we just lost the brush because, lo and behold, the brush was the source of these corruptions all the time. And we're very sad about this.
Yeah.
This part is very impactful, by the way, because there's no music again for a while, especially if you go around and explore and talk to all the people you can. Like, you can go all the way up to the next town, which is Levins's, which I did in my casual playthrough. I don't know if that many people did that, but there's some dialogue if you talk to one of the past wielders there.
Every NPC you can reach has something different to say.
I don't remember, does every single one? I couldn't remember if it was all of them, but...
I think just about all of them, unless they're kind of...
I think most of the ones in the 11s didn't have new stuff, besides Cardamom.
Oh, yeah.
But Cardamom did, so it made it worth going up there.
Oh, Pickle was so sad.
Yeah, all of these characters.
Everyone's sad. I am not hitting the right buttons. So
oftentimes the lack of music... Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to talk about that, right. The lack of music and just being wind, there's like no other sound. It's just this sort of like really hollow wind. And it just hit really hard. It always does. Because it's just like everything's gone wrong. There's no hope. But then we come back to luncheon and we just decide that, oh, you know, since our brush turned evil and is trying to take over the world, why not just grow a new one?
We were able to do it all along. We just needed to know.
We were able to do it all along, yes. We just didn't know.
Just needed a good reason.
And fun fact, we actually did discover after a month or two that there is an optimal way to grow that tree.
Yeah.
I went into the wrong place.
It does the old school game problem of diagonals having increased momentum. So growing the tree at a 45-degree angle is optimal.
But you can actually sort of make it, you can make it curve a bit depending on how you want, which I always think is super fun.
Yeah, you can grow the tree in whatever shape you want as you paint it. It's a nice touch.
Yeah. So here's the final fight. These music's keys aren't skippable. So we just sit here with a white screen for a minute until we see the brush, the old brush. So something I'm going to do in these earlier phases of this fight is actually try and stay close to it, which seems counterintuitive, but it'll make it attack faster because it won't have to move as much in order to sort of lock onto us. Which also means that this fight is quite dangerous sometimes. Incredible music, by the way, if that wasn't immediately apparent. Ow.
Yeah. The boss fights do have a lot going on, and are kind of the primary challenge in the run.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to have too much to say here, partially because the music's so good and partially because it is quite hard, and in practice, I die a lot in this fight. There's a lot going on during some of the phases, especially this one because I'm having to mirror my input diagonally. Makes it quite hard to hit myself here. All right, good bubbles, good bubbles.
Good stuff.
Cool.
Another little pseudo accessibility feature, or just a fun feature, is this anti-pizza hits you with brush styles, which are a thing you can unlock that allows you to draw shapes and stuff. So if you don't know what to paint, you can just use brush styles. So of course, the anti-pizza uses them against you.
I would mention a really cool thing that happens with the Expite if you get a specific brush style, but I'm not going to say it because that's something you should find out for yourself. Yeah, so we are in the final fight, but this sequence is quite long.
Sort of a boss rush in a way.
It is really just a boss rush, except it's all technically the same boss. It's the corrupted brush. So this is Chicory, right? Oh. Well, we're losing time. Because that is the first time I've got that since I sort of returned to the game. And the music's broken, which is always a fun time.
No.
But if you that's the one cutscene which if you skip it too fast, you soft lock the game. And I have done 2 marathon runs of this game, or well, this isn't a marathon, but this is the second time I've run this game live for an event, and it has happened both times.
It's a mini marathon, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's very hard to avoid because you're so used to skipping every single cutscene as fast as you can, and that one only soft locks the game if you do it frame perfect or like almost frame perfect.
I don't think it's frame perfect simply because of how often it happens.
Yeah, but it is as early as possible. I think it's a pretty small window, and it's just sort of 2 animations syncing up in a way that's unintended. That's okay. Just get to listen to this great track.
We got more music. I was about to say.
Very nice consolation prize, as always.
Right.
One other fun little feature that I made extensive use of that folks in the chat might not be aware of. For one thing, there's a brush style that lets you fill, which is fantastic when you're trying to paint the entire map.
Yes.
But also, you can hold on a single spot, and it will slowly fill all connected areas.
I can demonstrate that right now, actually.
Yeah, if you like. Which is super useful if you're trying to paint large areas and you don't want to wear your hands out. Or if you're trying to overlap colors or fill different little areas in.
It won't go over any of the sort of hard black lines that you see.
Yeah.
Although if you're a perfectionist, it might go over like 1 or 2 pixels sometimes. Oh. That was a bit of a tough situation with the way those bubbles were angled. Okay. I'm going to take this slowly so that I don't do that again.
It's all good. There are a lot of little things.
There we go.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I very intentionally waited a lot longer than I needed to there.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Some folks may or may not be sure about what might be or might not be classed as an accessibility feature, or things like I mentioned, like fast travel, or being able to save and quit everywhere, or even just having the pacing of the music as another way to follow what's going on in these fast boss fights.
Yes.
But all these things can help people play the game. And as a game developer or as a tester or whatever, mostly you just want people to play your game and enjoy it however they're going to. So I like all of these little details. There's a lot of thought that gets put into stuff like this, and I appreciate all of it.
Blackberry is also my favorite phase in this boss fight, and has my favorite music in this boss fight.
It gets real hectic.
Also worth clarifying, since I'm not sure we ever mentioned it, she was the wielder before Chicory and Chicory's mentor. Oh no. Losing some time here, I think. There is some randomness to these fights, and when Chicory can actually... Oh my god, did I... Now the game's laughing at me because I said something. But yeah, while Blackberry is sort of underground doing that, I call it the diamond attack, but it's not really a very good name because all of the attacks are diamonds. But Chicory can't hit her while she's underground. So you don't want her to be doing it a lot.
Yeah, there's very
and there
little...
she did it 3 times in a row.
Of course. There's very little RNG in the speedrun for this game, except in boss fights where there is a considerable amount. And there are ways to optimize against it. But
there are, however, some which don't have RNG, which I didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the final fight, the first few phases were in the last of like the first half of this. There is a fair bit of randomness for sure. I think this one is basically the one you lose time on. But here's the last fight, and we get the like epic final music. And this one actually has a set pattern for its attacks every time, which I didn't really realize until quite recently. But like before, I'm going to be trying to stay close to the boss so it doesn't take quite as long sort of swooping around. But that is also very dangerous in this fight. Although worth noting from an accessibility feature standpoint as well, a lot of the time, whenever you finish like even just a mini phase, you get a checkpoint. So like if I die here, I'm only going to restart at the start of this phase of the fight. And now that I've hit that brush a few times, it'll actually respawn me there. So I'll already have hit it once, and I think it's 3 times that you have to sort of have Chicory catch it.
I'm a big fan of checkpoints.
Yes. The checkpoints in these bosses are really helpful, and you can actually know if you've hit a checkpoint, because when Pizza gets hit, they have sort of a pained expression. And that goes away whenever you get a checkpoint. So if it ever disappears, then you know that you're safe if you die.
Your health is refilled, and also, yeah. And so the health in the bosses is sort of more just a concession in terms of like pacing, and you can kind of up the challenge or lower the challenge, tune it a bit with the options as you like, but...
So this is the last phase. Assuming I don't die, it'll be a little bit. I think it's after the leaves. So we're gonna get 3 of these sort of shape attacks. And then I think it's leaves right after that, right? And that'll be time, and also a bit of a loud sound warning just because we skipped the cutscenes. And it gets a bit loud, just like sort of right at the credits.
Yeah.
So ready, time.
GG.
GG. A good run.
That was a good run. What was my time, if anyone has it?
I am looking over. We got a 57:05.
Oh, wow, that was slow. Underestimate, though.
Yeah.
Underestimate.
Yeah, and we paused a couple times to talk about this and that.
Oh, absolutely.
We got to go, break some things and
Yes.
listen to. No, it's like, and we also got to listen to more music. So
Absolutely.
that was always
The
good,
most
right?
important part.
Well, again, everybody, like that was Chicory by Hallow.
Yes.
Hallow. I'd like to ask you if you had like any final words or anything you wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Plug yourself, please, because this was great.
I love this game a lot. I've said that a lot, but I need to say it as much as possible. Hangman, if you also want to plug yourself, you can go first.
I'm Hangman. I do QA work for Finji on beautiful games like this. Also, cool games with accessibility features. Tunic was the last game that I worked on. You might like that game. It's got amazing accessibility features too.
Oh yeah, I played that recently. It was very good.
Yeah,
I
it's
still
really
need to
good.
play it.
And I'm currently working on yet another game with great accessibility features, which is I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, which has a demo right now on Steam that I highly recommend folks check out if they're interested.
What was that name again?
I was a teenage exocolonist.
All right. Okay.
Just search for exocolonist and you'll find
Yeah,
it.
no, yeah. I imagine that's like going out into space or something. But yeah.
Yeah. It's about it's a sort of visual novel / card game about growing up on an alien planet.
Neat.
I've learned from my experience playing Chicory is that Finji has very good games. But yeah, for my shoutouts, I'm Hallow. I stream on Twitch very sporadically at Hallow, which is probably on screen. You can find me on most other platforms as alias_Hallow. alias_Hallow. And I make music. So I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on whatever streaming service. Mostly drum and bass. So if you like fast things, speedrunning is fast. I also make fast music. And yeah, I've been doing that a lot lately, so I haven't actually been running the game very much, but yeah, if you want to check me out, that would be great. I'd also just I like to do this a lot. I give a quick thanks to the Input Output and Amber CXC for sort of encouraging me to start speedrunning by doing it themselves and me watching. And yeah, thank you to Vance and GDQ Hotfix for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was so glad to have you on. This run was very enjoyable, start to finish, and I'm always sad every time like a run's done. I got to say bye to everybody. It's like we got to get the next people on, but bye. And loved having you on. And we are going to go into another break here as we get set up for the next run, which is going to be Ori and the Blind Forest Randomizer World Tour. And that's going to be brought to you by Covert's Muffin. Should be a good time. We'll see you after the break.